Stormrider here. Welcome to another episode of The Bloody Point. This time I want to talk a little bit about tactics and strategy in Crowfall. One of the great things about Crowfall is that it's one of the few games where you actually have battlefield tactics and overall strategy. Here we see that my small group has come across what looks like a picket or a sentry post between one of the forts and the keep where we're staging a siege. We are going to take care of these guys fairly quickly. Things like this, small field engagements are a big part of the overall campaign warfare element of Crowfall. We don't see a lot of it in the test because there really isn't any persistency and there's not a proper win condition and so on. But these fights still happen, and the elements in these fights are still there. Here you're going to see me get bopped twice by the same tornado. That was pretty cool. So this group, I'm not sure if they were set there to intercept people coming from the fort or we just caught them, but they're part of an overall force that is up at the keep. This guy is gonna stealth here. Could have gotten away, but I had Scarecrow and Aura of Terra. I'm gonna pop him right there, and then get the stun and the dot on him. That's a 20-second, 24-tick dot. It's very effective against stealthers. You're pretty much not getting away once I get that on you. So we clear these guys, and we're going to jump here to the main siege. Now, this siege in particular was one where there were quite a few mistakes made in terms of the overall strategy that we had in our deployment of forces, but this kind of thing happens. I mean, you have to adjust on the fly, and it's not easy to communicate everything as quickly as it needs to be or to set things up in advance. And I have to say Balance did a great job. I don't know who's commanding on their side, but they definitely did a lot of things right here. In military history and doctrine, there is a famous quote, "Quantity has a quality all its own." And I feel something similar can be said about aggression. You're going to see a push here coming up. And I may be the tip of the spear here, but the important thing is that there is an actual spear. The ability to control your force's movements and dictate the movements of the enemy is key. And that's something you'll see in a few times in this engagement. Here we have the enemy force pushing out towards the tree. We're going to hold this position here pretty well. And you're going to see that I'm going to come out and push on the call target, which is Zybak. Now I stunned the healer there to support the push on Zybak. Sometimes your called target, you can only put so much damage on them, and it's good to neutralize the heals as well if you have an opportunity. So that's what I did. Now Zybak's target, of course, I'm going to take a chance here, probably a stupid chance, but I have my C up so it's not completely brazen, and push right into their stack. As you can see, I'm one of only 2 order shields, but I know the group's behind me. That's what I was talking about aggression. I've pushed Zybak away. Now, their healer is going to chase him, obviously, try and keep him up, and the group is going to try and stay near the healer. It's the kind of thing I was talking about earlier, where you can really dictate, in some cases, the behavior of the enemy group or your own group through these individual actions. But you can't, be running around playing a solo game in these fights. You have to do it in the context of the commands, call target and so on. So we've pushed them back here. We're going to see some performance issues. You can see now that things are starting to get dicey as far as the MSG goes. Anyone who's played the Crowfall pre-alpha is familiar with these performance issues. There have been some improvements. Larger populations and larger scale fights are possible now, but it still does impact things to a degree. It's unfortunate, but it's normal for the stage of development that we're in. We are going to see improvements fairly soon, I believe, with the next build, and they're continually making adjustments and applying fixes for this. So we pushed them back here to the keep. We have left the tree undefended, though, and whether this was intentional on the part of the balance force or not, I don't know. We probably should have left a couple guys back at the tree. We are not really outnumbering them as much as it looks, because their forces are split up. You saw we caught the 2 between Brook and Ganelon earlier, and they obviously have at least 1 at the tree. So they are deploying their forces in a specific way to take advantage of the way we're deploying ours. we're leaving that tree undefended, and it may have cost us here. I don't know. When we go back, you're going to see in a moment, we're going to go back to defend our tree, and we probably send too many than was necessary. Again, it's one of those things, and in these field engagements, a lot of the time, especially with sieges, you know, where you put your men, how you deploy them, where you choose to concentrate your forces, that's the determining factor in the overall fight, because you have things like flanking attacks, you have to defend multiple positions. It's one of the great things about Crowfall, and even in this early stage, it's heartening to see that this element of the game is there and is pretty good. You know, we do have issues, as I said, with performance. So in executing the individual attacks and getting powers to go off, that's still problematic in some cases. But the actual tactical play, positioning play, that's all there. So the call goes to return to the tree, and I think pretty much all of us go, leaving the catapult position undefended, which is a problem. You know, it's not a big deal. This wasn't necessarily a key fight. We're just doing it for fun. And overall, I gotta say, Pravity and Yeti, who was calling here, did a great job. You can't account for everything. You're responding in real time to what's happening. And you know, we're dealing with the balanced force. I know some of these guys, played with some of them against them in other games going back as far as 15 years. So these are not, you know, new people. They know what they're doing. So they're pushing the catapults. The call's going to come now for specific individuals to stay here. There you go. So see, that's the kind of thing you have to have clarity in combat. Your commander, when they make specific calls for individuals to do things, you prevent the kind of issue of having the whole group going back and forth between positions, and you don't want that. So that was great. Now we're going to go back and try and push them off the catapults. They got it down. You can rebuild the catapults during the siege. You know, it's not like the Bane trees that you cannot place once it starts. But they're pushing us again, so we're going to fall back a little bit here. You know, we're running into some issues now at this stage in the fight where the message ping is pretty high. You can see it's getting up to 3 or 4K, and that changes what you can do and what you should do in a fight. Sometimes you have to deal with the hand you're dealt, and when you're not getting certain powers off, and they're low percentage in terms of success of getting off, you have to use the powers you have, which are higher percentage. In the case of myself with the Druid, you know, I have a lot of things here which don't work too well, but you can still get some things to function. So I'm working here to try and neutralize this push. It's always good to adopt somewhat of a flanking position, even when you're in close quarters, just so you have another angle. You can get set up crossfire. You're making the enemy think about their flanks, and that's always a good thing. Even if you're not being effective with your fire, you are drawing attention, and that's valuable as well. So that whirlwind got off. It kind of hit somebody. It really didn't work as it should have. That's fine.
Push them back. They're on the flag ground right now.
So they're gonna go all in on this tree. They understand that all they have to do is destroy this one Bane tree, and it will go down. The siege will end, as we only planted one tree. We're in the process of planting another, but the siege started before then. We got distracted. You know, these are again little things that could have been done differently, but overall, you can't really fault anybody for that. I'm just going to let this run here a bit. You're going to see now we're going to start to call individual targets, which is where we start to have some success. Again, you can see the importance of positioning. You know, we're watching our flanks. They're maintaining a good line, which helps them offset our damage, what damage we're able to put out. And at some point, they're going to make the decision to push. They do have someone behind us still. I can see the damage going out on the tree. You can see to the right side under the compass, you'll see the number 28%. That represents the percentage of life on our main tree, which is what is keeping the siege going. So, yeah, there we go. See, there's the call to defend the tree. We're going all in on the tree as they are. Now, there are different classes that you can use for things like this. You know, fixed position fights. Some classes are better than others. Again, it's one of the great things in Crowfall in that you have all these tools. Some are better at other things, and some are worse at other things. And in the case of a fixed position, you have the druid, which has the orbs. They're visible now to the enemy. You know, it's unclear whether that's a bug or a design change, but they can be used for area denial, and they do force the enemy to make a decision, either put themselves at risk for high damage, or, you know, just avoid the area. It's interesting, you can see in this fight, both sides have some ranged and some melee, and how the two interact are really important. Alright, this is where things start to turn.
I would say get nuclear.
Yeah, if we can, just get it.
Zybak is coming up on our tree right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to get up
So
there.
the Templar, Zybak's a Templar. Now he can tank a decent amount of damage. What he's going to do is get right flush with the tree where he can use some of his abilities. And one of the things that we could have done perhaps is use, you know, physics abilities to knock him off. What I tried to do with my ultimate there on that centaur, but he didn't go anywhere. It should have knocked him away quite far. I don't know why that was, if he had CC immunity or if it was just a lag issue. But we got Zybak on the tree, puts his field down. So some kind of a tornado or a chain pull or something on him there would have been useful. You know, we do have people healing the tree. You can do that. You can heal Bane Tree while combat is ongoing. And see, there's the call for our healers to get on the tree. You know, good calls made by our command in this fight, I gotta say. I think we were hampered a little bit by the message issues. You know, they more severely impact certain powers, and those are the powers we needed to you know, secure this area. They're going to get the tree down. As you can see, it's already down to 6 or 5%. That was the balance objective. I think that's really all they wanted to focus on. They weren't trying to kill our group. They were trying to manipulate our positioning and get the tree down, which they do. Again, in Crowfall, you know, you really have those two elements. You have the strategy element, what your intentions are, what you want to do in the tactics element, how you execute things on the ground. And you have to have both functioning well to win these fights. So the tree's down. Now we're gonna, you know, we don't have to worry about the tree anymore. We're gonna fire these various targets. Brave Zybak going down. Now some of these balance, of course, are disengaging. They're gonna get away. As you can hear, I had taken Dredden down here. Hit his head. So, you know, this is an example of where Crowfall really excels. These kinds of engagements, once performance is fixed, are going to be incredible. You know, the game is a spiritual successor to Shadowbane. It's similar to some other games that have these kinds of large-scale fights, and we see some of that here. It's coming together. Once the performance issues are knocked out, it's going to be a great game. Game where tactics and strategy play an important part, and I can't wait to see it happen. So that's a Bloody Point. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.
He's still too far away for me.